What door? Side door? Douglas. Potato yesterday? Okay. I know. It's okay. Okay.
Слава Україні! З вами 2-й механізований батальйон 3-ї окремої штурмової бригади. Мій позивний Рім, я санітарний інструктор 2-го мехбату. І сьогодні у нас в студії в гостях наші друзі, наші близькі друзі, з якими ми пройшли не одну кампанію, ми пройшли складні часи. І завдяки цим друзям ми забезпечили досить високий стандарт надання медичної допомоги в нашому батальйоні. У нас сьогодні в гостях наші партнери, які нам допомагали матеріально протягом складних наших часів ще з Авдіївської кампанії, і організація Frontline Medics, які безпосередньо з нами працюють на медичній евакуації. Наша сьогоднішня зустріч буде англійською мовою, тому читайте субтитри або взагалі вчіть англійську, бо скільки можна вже. Окей. I'm going to give you guys a word of introduction. So, can you please tell a little bit about yourself, like your name and what organization you represent, or with what purpose, in your case, you have come here?
So my name is Douglas. I came here in 2022 as a volunteer from the USA. This is Will Rogers from Canada, and we are with Frontline Medics.
Thank you. Can you tell me a little bit more about what Frontline Medics as an organization does here in Ukraine?
Frontline Medics provides medical services for the people of Ukraine, mobile clinics, medical supplies, medevac services, for example, with 3rd Assault, 2nd Mech, stabilization points. We support them.
Can you tell a little bit about like what brought you here in Ukraine?
It all started with basically a phone call to a friend of mine at the hospital I was working out of, collecting goods for Ukraine at the very beginning of the war. She put me in contact with somebody else, who put me in contact with somebody else, and the next thing you know, I was on a plane coming over, being accepted into the workings of Frontline Medics. As Doug was saying, working in Mykolaiv and Kherson and running and helping with mobile clinics. As I've said before in other interviews, when this broke out, it really sort of struck a chord with me. My first effort was driving a series of ambulances from London to Warsaw to be delivered here for the use in Ukraine. And after that, of course, that piqued my interest, and the phone call led to me coming here, and this is the 4th time I've been here now. And every time I've been here, it's been a little bit different, which is great. It's been an adventure every time, and I'm glad I can help out, you know, especially the people of Ukraine, and represent Canada here.
Thank you very much. We do appreciate you coming here again. We're always happy to see you here.
Yeah, I will introduce myself. So my name is Natalie. I work with Douglas, with Frontline Medics organization, as operation manager and as interpreter. And thank you, Will, for coming again and for all the contributions you do. So I have a question. So how you motivate people in Canada to do the contributions? Because the world is probably tired, if it's possible to say so, from the Ukrainian agenda, from the war. So how you justify all the contributions people do? How you motivate them to support Ukraine?
It's a bit of action and also like public relations. They see what I'm doing and they take some inference for it. They get an impulse to help as well. I said, you know, if Will can do this, why I can contribute a little bit, or how can I contribute? I've seen on some of my social media accounts and stuff like that, that other people are saying, you know, we should support Will in doing this. And when Douglas had contacted me and asked me about, you know, specifically supplying tourniquets, like I have, I just said, well, it's a great chance for people to help out. Made up some posters and put them out and started doing some media stuff and advertising. And the next thing you know, we had $20,000 to spend on these tourniquets, which is, all the money's gone to the tourniquets. I actually have some money left over, which we're probably going to buy something else that Frontline Medics is probably going to need, or I'm going to continue on with more fundraising and add in it to something else for the effort in Ukraine.
And if you address to all the Canadians or all the people in the world, so what would you say why it's important to continue supporting Ukraine?
Well, because, this is quite the illegal action carried out by Russia. And my understanding of course, it's been going on over 3 years now, studying the entire situation, is that in most people's opinion that are in the know, this isn't going to stop, it's not just going to stop on its own. I mean, Mr. Putin has his idea of, the greater Russia and everything else, and he's going to try and achieve his goals any which way that he thinks he can. So I think he has to be pushed back and stopped right to, pre-2014. And that's kind of a, it's a lofty goal, but I think it's going to be, it's one that's shared by a lot of people in Canada. There's an awful lot of Ukrainians in Canada and people who've gone through displacement through World War II. They're still around. There's lots of veterans still around. I deal with them at my job as a paramedic in Canada, and I've met many of them over the last 30 to 40 years. And I take a great inference from them and motivation from them and what they've gone through and what they've lived through. And I just don't want to see that to happen again to our world, especially the free world. Where Europe is now under threat. It's not just Ukraine, and then we don't know what's going to happen after that. Where does it stop? Because we don't know where it will stop unless we stop it. Ukrainians, yourselves, everybody, they're fighting and doing this to maintain their sovereignty and their freedoms. We don't want, you guys don't want to be under Russian rule, and we don't want you to be under Russian rule. And we really honestly don't see this stopping just at Ukraine if that's what happens. A lot of people are of the opinion that it's going to continue. In fact, they've said that because there's the Baltic states, right?
Yeah, so thank you for this support and your input you do to support Ukraine.
How are you perceived here in Ukraine? Whenever you come to Ukraine, how are you being perceived by our own people?
Very well. It's been great. In fact, I make reference to that all the time when I'm at home. Doug's seen some of my interviews, some of the stuff I've sent him on our provincial TV programs. I've had people come up, crying, with tears running down their face, because they see my Canadian flag along with the frontline medics and the Ukrainian flag on this side. They're so grateful that I'm just even here. And it was especially poignant Kherson, because we were down there 4 days after the Russians had left. And people were still quarantined in the city, so they were amazed that we were there. Even the other media people that came in behind us were amazed that we had gotten in there and were doing a clinic. And it was just the fact that we were there gave them such hope that things are going to get better, because they had been occupied for so long. Everywhere I go here, people I can see them looking at my shoulder and seeing, even, and the guards at checkpoints, you're from Canada, because sometimes they'll want to see my passport. And their eyes light up and they just can't believe I'm here. But it's a pleasure to be here. I'm glad I can help out. My family thinks I'm a little crazy, but I'm not just going to sit at home and watch this unfold on TV and think, oh, I wish I could do something. I'm going to do something, and I have plans to do more in the future.
And Douglas, there's a question for you. So I know that you've been working with other brigades as well. So you have things to compare, right? So I'm just curious, how has your experience with the 3rd Brigade been comparing to other brigades, or in general? How do you feel about working with the 3rd Brigade?
Well, I will speak for myself and also our volunteers. Obviously, we're very impressed with your brigade, very professional, and I will just leave it at that. They're very professional. The other brigades are amazing. I will say this in regards to his comment, Will's, the Ukrainian people are constantly underestimated since 2022. They will not surrender, they will not give up, and this is what I see in all of the fighting forces. So I want to tell the world, if anyone sees this in the world, that don't give up on Ukraine, don't underestimate them. This war can end in victory, and so we need the world's support. We need serious weapons, and we need as much support as we can get. Don't give up on Ukraine. Ukraine is a really tough country and a really tough people.
Yeah, thank you. I know that we've been doing a lot of work with you guys on Medevac specifically. I work with your team constantly, and I love your team. I adore your team. Those are best people I've ever met, best professionals, best paramedics. And we've been through hell. We've been on Avdiivka campaign together. We started an Avdiivka campaign. We've been on Kharkiv campaign. There's been difficult times, and every time I knew that I could actually rely on you guys, and every time it was like my expectations were more than met, and I'm really happy to work with you guys.
Well, thank you for that.
Yeah.
It means a lot.
Yeah, and also, is it difficult to find volunteers to join Frontline Medics to work in Ukraine? Because this is like, here is scary, and not everybody is ready for shellings, for danger, for all the dangers associated with this sort of work. Like, is it difficult to find people to work with you?
It is. We have a high percentage of, if I could use another term, I would, but basically people that, I don't want to say rejected, but people that are just not qualified for the job. This is a very hard job. We do have medics and doctors that come out here, and we call them Code Black, where they just cannot, they go on one mission and shells land next to them and they get on the train and leave. Mm-hmm. So this is not for everyone. I have a lot of respect for the medics that stay. This is not their country, and they are literally, as you know, risking their lives. And so it is hard to get good volunteers, but I appeal to all of the foreigners. If you are a qualified paramedic or doctor, and you have the, I'll just say it, if you're brave enough to come here, we need you.
Yeah, that's a great message for everyone out there watching us and thinking like, how can I help? This is the way to help. Also, I think you noticed that sometimes when it comes to professional help, it really depends a lot of the supplies that we have. And I think comparing to like other brigades, we might not be like the worst ones, right? So we kind of have supplies comparing to other brigades, but again, during some dark times, we had like huge shortages in supplies, in basic supplies, in tourniquets and everything, in occlusive dressings, like basic supplies, because they've been given out so quickly that we didn't even have time to restock. So supplies are really important here. And as we say in the 2nd Mechanized Battalion, every tourniquet is a saved life and every conversion is a saved limb. So this is like a saying here. So it just expresses how important it is to have supplies. And I know that you've been helping a lot with the supplies, which we're grateful. That pile of tourniquets, that's actually a pile of saved lives, because we've seen those tourniquets a lot on medevacs. Every time we see a tourniquet that's supplied like good, high and tight, we know like, okay, it worked. This guy lives just because the tourniquet is there and it stopped the bleeding. And I know that you've been helping a lot with the different sort of supplies, but can you elaborate more about like what sort of other help that you are going to do whenever you have all the necessary investment here in Ukraine?
Well, like I had mentioned to you before the filming, starting up a foundation. It's kind of an unofficial foundation to have a steady money stream coming in for supplies for frontline medics and probably others, as well as maybe even the government, of course, to whatever they need. I'm proud to help out. I'm humbled and by the efforts of the Ukrainians. I'm very proud to be here and stand with them in their efforts to protect their country and their just who they are, because you guys have a very, very proud heritage. I lived with a Ukrainian family in the northern part of my province for a while, and I learned quite a bit from Ukrainian heritage that I knew nothing about before. And I don't know if that is actually sparked to this. I think I would have been doing this anyways, but it certainly is something that it gives me something to think about when making reference to all the efforts and everything I've done here. And I'm happy to do it.
I wish you that you have a good team that will support you through this plan, through this ambition, and that you have all the luck in your way, because this is really a great ambition, and I hope you succeed in this. But again, another question. So we're all human beings, and we like to see the results of our work, right? Mm-hmm. So you contribute a lot of your energy, of your resources, all sorts of resources. You involve a lot of people in there. So obviously you would like to see some results of this work and the result of this contribution. And I guess partially the result of you providing help is the frontline medics, because you see what they do, because you see the work that they do with us, right? But Is there any other sort of the result that you might want to see, like so that you see it and you're like, okay, I've done a good job, I helped, this is how it works?
Just I get kudos from Doug all the time. Tells me what a great job I'm doing, which is nice. I get that sort of thing from people that have helped out at home too, and they say, you know, you're doing a great job. People over there, I'm sure, are grateful. What I would like to see is just a, you know, a direct line of communication about how things are going here. We all remember when, you know, February 24th of 2022, right? Even I was under the impression, I said, you know, like, how can Ukraine hold out? You know, and all of a sudden, after 3 or 4 days, you know, things were the news reports are coming in that, you know, it wasn't going as well as the Russians were thinking it was going to go. And then a week went by, then 2 weeks went by, and everybody, the world was impressed. The world was, you know, gobsmacked, basically. They all stood up and took notice of this. One of the reasons is that you, after a while, you sort of think about it. You know, you don't give, if you're going to invade a country, you don't give them 8 years' notice, you know, to prepare. And then you don't invade when everything's mud, right? So there's logistically things that the Russians did seem to be foolhardy at when this whole thing started, and which played right into their, you know, their demise at the very beginning of this. Unfortunately, it's still going on, and I don't think anybody expected it still to be going on this long, you know, me included, but it is, and that's the reality of the situation. So we just keep working to try and give you guys as much support as possible. And I know there are people at home that really want to support you guys. When I went on TV, provincial TV for British Columbia back home, I put out the plea for funds, and overnight, just like that, I had enough to buy the tourniquets, just like with some left over. So when I go back and give them this foundation idea, I'm hopeful the same kind of response will come.
I'd like to say something about tourniquets. A lot of people ask what type of tourniquets are the best. And from my experience and from the medics that work here actually on the front line, Northern Rescue, Cat 7 tourniquets, black.
Yeah, absolutely. That's like a golden standard here because of the best statistics, probably.
There's a lot of tourniquet and other equipment that's available online, but they don't work. They're okay to practice on for training sometimes. But I know, for instance, I've had a friend of mine spend hundreds and hundreds of dollars online for, you know, non-professional tourniquets, and they just basically fell apart. And it was a waste of money, right? But it's a lesson learned. You know, that to get, you know, Cat 7s, which we went through a single distributor in Canada that does the entire country, and they were more than happy to help out.
Yeah, it's easier for us to use one type of tourniquet instead of like all the other like recommended ones, because it's difficult to train all the soldiers to use different kinds of tourniquets. Right. Sometimes it's like not enough time for that, so we're sticking to the golden standard of Cat 7.
I would like to say, to express my gratitude also to everyone in this room. Reem, for your bravery. I know you work on the front line all the time. Natalie's worked on the front line. Thank you for your bravery and your wisdom. And the man of the hour, Will Rogers, well, it was actually
5 minutes.
a good one. Your commander asked for 550 Cat 7 tourniquets. I called several NGOs and people I knew, no response. Will actually organized this massive, well, I wouldn't say it's a massive, but it's a very large delivery of 550 tourniquets, and the last part was delivered today. And so thank you, Will. These will definitely save lives. Amazing work.
My pleasure. I'm just glad to help out.
I think we'll see those tourniquets sometime, and we'll be sure that they've saved lives.
And we need more.
Yeah, we need more, always, because they spread like hot bread. Like they're there, and then a couple of days go by, and they're like the box is empty. Yeah.
Didn't we have to bribe somebody with 2 tourniquets?
Yes, we did. That's true.
Наша сьогоднішня зустріч добігає кінця. Знову ж таки, хочу ще раз повторити, що я дуже вдячна цим людям, нашим друзям, партнерам, які нас підтримували завжди в складні часи. Підтримували як матеріально, так і професійно, так і своїм дружнім плечем. Мало таких людей, і я дуже щаслива, що нам випав шанс працювати з такими людьми і мати таких класних, чудових партнерів. Дякую за увагу і переможемо! Слава Україні!
Героям слава!